Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to an unboxing for Final Girl. This is a solo horror survival game. So this is unique in a couple different ways. So there's going to be a few videos for this. This first video is going to be the core box and the basic gameplay overview, rules video, and then any following videos will be the expansions. But what makes this unique is, so here's like the little flip cover that'd be on the back of the box. It comes off when you unwrap it. This box here is not a standalone box. What this is, the core box is has all the main stuff you need to play the game, and then what you do is you purchase an expansion pack for whatever feature film or horror movie you want to play. Which each horror box has. So I have two of them here, which we'll kind of look at, but we'll go in more depth in the other one. So each horror box has a killer and a location on each game. So like that one has those two. This one has Hans and the Happy Trails. So each one has a killer and a location, and then they're all mix and match after that. But you need a core box to play. So this isn't any different than if you picked up a regular game. So if we picked up something like Marvel Champions or Marvel Legendary, for example, you get them, they have all the core components in there, and then you have to buy all the expansions for it. Even like something like Zombicide, you pick up the Zombicide and you pick up one of the smaller expansions for it, such as like Rio Z Janeiro or Washington DC. They had all the main components, all that stuff in there, and then the expansions add all the extra cards. But you always have to go back and have the main expansion. So this was kind of neat, and they did that because then you buy this core set, then you can pick up whichever expansions you want. And then they're in year 3 of this, or series 3, and it uses the same exact core box for every single game. So someone can now pick up, I think there's 5 films or expansion in each set. So yeah, you can pick up a set like I have here. I have one from Series 1, one from Series 2. And when Series 3 actually hits retail, you can pick up some of that as well. And you're not limited to having to go back, pick up the core set, have that. Plus the other fun thing about that is it means the stuff in each expansion is as difficult as it needs to be for that expansion. There's not the core mechanics or the core scenario that's like a lot easier than the rest, and it's kind of like, okay, after you've played it the first time, you never really want to play it again because it's kind of, it's made for easiness. So yeah, we're gonna go over what this game is, and we're gonna kind of look at comparing two of the different boxes, just as like a quick brief thing to see what they are, and then in another video we will actually go through each one in depth. So what is this game exactly? So it's, if you're familiar with the concept of Final Girls from horror movies, it's the trope of, at the end of a horror, like a slasher type film, there's usually one girl that is left alive that defeats the killer, and that's what this is playing on. It says, you ever wanted to start your own horror movie? It's not your chance. In Final Girl, you become the heroine of the story. In a solo game unlike any other that brings movie horror tropes using innovative and endless replayability feature film game system. Every second counts as you manage your timing actions in the game. One mistake can mean death. Will you try to save other victims, or you search for items to help you destroy the killer? Play cards, roll dice, and feel the exhilaration and dread in every moment. This core box has the primary components of the game, must be combined with at least one feature film box, so grab this and one more of everything you need to play. Since a killer can be played in any location, adding additional feature films greatly increases your options and provides new challenges. So cool. Alright, so and then they have all, they kind of stand like this up, so you can stand them up on your shelf, which is really neat. The design of this game is really cool as well. So here's our rule book, which we'll go over that in a minute. We got a little pamphlet in there. So we're going to start with, we're going to get a action board. This is basically where you keep track of all your player stuff. You have your backpack, your hand for holding items, your track of time, you're keeping track of horror, which basically the less horror, the more actions you can do, the scarier, the closer bad guy gets to you, type of thing, then the less actions you get. Victims die, they go down here. Your final girl, this is your health spot, and it explains your actions. It's also cool is you can flip this over to the other side, which makes it a lot harder. So now you can see the horror side red here one guy got a lot bigger. So going from one guy up to 3, or one spot up to 3, and this dropped down to 1, and your timer dropped down a little bit. Yeah, it's extreme horror, so it makes it a little bit more challenging. We have some components. These are just little spots to hold extra tokens. So in case your map overruns, you can put extra things in here. So you drop this on the map, then you put extra tokens in there. Then we have health tokens to keep track of how much health we have left. Just showing that each give you an additional die. These are actually the final health tokens, which we'll go into a little bit later. Then we have the crux of the main box. So we have a little storage system in here, which is really nice. So if we pop this out, there's nothing underneath this one. And I say that because there are some underneath it. We have our dice, which are all going to have, various sides on them. We have a 1 and a 2, which don't really do anything. We have a 3, which has 2 little cards. We have the 4 on the other side, which has 2. These are partial rolls. And then we have 5 and 6, which have stars. So basically, rolling low doesn't help you. Rolling in the middle is okay, and rolling towards high is great. Then we get a bunch of different meeples and tokens. So we have all these little hearts in here to keep track of your health. And if we open this up, and dump some of these out into my hand, we're going to have some big red ones. These are your killers. Just these simple little meeples. The purple one is your final girl. So this is your playable character. And we have that little timer to keep track on your health bar. And those kind of just dumped back in there. We do have a second killer to keep track of the killer's bar on our health board. So that will be on here. You'll have one keeping track of that. You'll have a timer there. And then the other 2 meeples will go on your location board, which we'll look at in just a second. So I'm just going to drop those guys back in there. Then in the yellow box, we have a little bit smaller meeple characters. So these are all your victims. So you have a ton of them because you can have a bunch throughout the game. We do get some colored ones, which are special victims, which will be related to certain cards in the game. So they might specify a boyfriend, or like we're playing like the Happy Trails one, might be a camp counselor or something like that. Yeah, it's just kind of, they change from game to game depending on what scenario you're playing. Then we have some other little trackers here. So the little white ones are going to track stuff on your cards, your item cards, showing how many uses, other things like that. And the red one's actually going to track the killer's blood. So we're just going to drop those in that one. You can kind of see there's a bunch of extra spaces in here for other things. So you can always drop. I don't think you guys will sit in. We might have other little components that might go in here as well. You might add. Then we have a basic deck of action cards. This is the crux of the game. These are the different things your character can do throughout the turn. So if you play a watch card, you will roll a die. So if you roll 2 dice and you get 2 stars, successes, you get to move 2 spaces, but it costs you a time on your board. If you only get 1, you only get 1 space. If you get no stars, you can move up to 1 space, but it costs you a health and 2 timer, or you just pay 2 time. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Then we get we get 2 of those. We get other stuff like resting, focus, weak attacks, which these do more damage. Damage, but it costs you health. No damage and your turn ends. We get some other ones that have other different effects. We get guards for blocking damage, searching for items, distraction, trying to reduce the horror and up your time, extra strikes. So these are your basic action cards, which will determine what you get to do throughout the game. So before I get into the full rules of the game, I want to grab one of these killer boxes, or the story boxes. So here we have Hans and the Butcher, and Happy Camper Camp Happy Trees. Now I'm not going to go through all the separate components in here, but I think it's very important to show off what is in here so you know what you're getting. So if you open up the one side, the cover actually flips off. It's magnetic. And this will be our killer's board. This is going to show their horror level, their health, which will be kept tracked in this little area here. They have special spots on here for their different abilities or special cards they're going to use. And then they have their horror. So this is where that little red token came in. As their bloodlust goes up because they've killed more people or victims, they're going to go up and they're going to gain more movement speed and more attack power. This is how you keep track of what your killer is. They have some extra small powers up there. So you open up a game, you pick up one side, you're going to have the killer. They'll have what's all included in there. Their finale cards, dark powers. This is where your final girls come in. So you get two playable characters in this box. And then your terror cards. And then this one has no extra special rules. Then we have... In here, we have whatever extra special stuff we have in here. So this has all of the killer's cards. So it's going to have our two survivors, our final girls we get to play with. We have some copies of their special abilities, is what they get to do during the turn. If they eventually get later on, they can get extra power if they get far enough through the game. And then they have their terror cards, which dictate what the killer's going to do each turn, kind of based on things, and then they have special extra abilities they could get as well. So then these sit right in there, and that's the killer side. So when you go to play a game, you take your core box, you pick one of your killer sides, and then you flip the box over, and now we have our location. So here's our little mini map. And this is our Camp Happy Trails. It's just going to show we have some item cards that will go up here, either the cabins, the docks, or the utility shed, which will match the little icons there. Our setup card, which will explain how the game wants to start. But yeah, then we have all our different locations on here. So like various wake and camp locations. We have a fire pit, the docks, the lake, the cliff, the makeout point. The little numbers on here are to determine if victims are trying to run, which direction they will go. The green spots are exits. If victims can get here, with the final girl, you can let them escape, which is what you definitely want to do. So yeah, so you open up the killer side. It's going to show our different stuff there. So this is going to give us events, more terror cards, setups, tokens, with no extra special rules for this one either. So then, much like the other side, we have a little box here. It's going to show off all this. So they get some more terror cards. These mix in with the killers, so each deck will be made up of some killer-specific stuff, some location-specific stuff, which again give extra things for the killers to do. But then these ones will reference the map. This one we get a set of tokens, which will go with certain item cards, so you can pop them out and dump them in there. We get these blue cards, which are events which will pop up, which are just different things to mess with the game. This is where I mentioned, like, you could have a boyfriend, so the blue character becomes a boyfriend, or becomes your girlfriend. Or you have something like Dark Waters, which makes the waters dangerous, or adds a secret tunnel, which are the tokens. They're kind of cool. We have some setup cards, which show beginning of the game, where you start as a final girl, where the killer starts, and where victims start. And then each game changes it up a little bit. So yeah, you can play this 5 different times without having the exact same setup. And then we have a bunch of item cards, which could be things that help heal you, like pills, weapons like aluminum bat or a knife, first aid kit, which will heal you. And this is where the little tiny circles we showed went to cover up items. So like you can use a trash can lid 3 times. Or if we get to like a bow and archery bow, we have 3 arrows to fire. And then we have like stuff like fireworks and bear trap, which have the little tokens in the corner. So that's pretty cool there as well. So we get those, we combine those with the other set. to make a full game. So now before I hop into the rules, I just want to take a quick look at the other box set. So here's our other one. We have Ratchet Lady. Basic same thing. She has, you know, killer stuff here, her powers. She has a couple of little differences. She has a health limit, it's a little bit different, and she has an M because she sometimes gets minions. So like here's her board. She comes with some Maniac Meeples, and she does have some special rules on how those work. So yeah, each game is going to play a little bit differently. So then like her deck, or her little box on her side, we have some extra red little Meeples instead of the yellow ones. These are Maniacs that are in the Asylum. And then we're gonna have her special cards, our 2 new girls. We get 2 extra action cards that have the symbol on it for the sets, you know, to pull those back out. And then she has her set of terror cards. They're gonna do different stuff as well. So we drop all those back in. And then if we look at the other side, is we have the Asylum. So as you can see, the map is very similar in the fact that you have a bunch of little rooms, little numbers, but it's also very different because of how it's also laid out. And we have the common room, the operating cell. This one only has escape points up at the top corners, but it has some more dead ends in some spots as well. But yeah, it's going to play a little bit differently. And then this also has a bunch of other stuff in there. It has some special rules for using pills. So if we flip over and we look at our thing, again, we'll go over these in a separate video and more in depth, but we're going to have our extra terror cards, our new event, these are amp cards. So these are utilized with the pill effects. You might end up drawing some pills and drawing amped cards. So this adds a new mechanic to the game. We have some stun icons, which have, again, the set they go to, which is really nice. Some pills with some extra little tokens. You get those, and then we have our deck with our setup cards, our event cards, which again, now is some of the Hannibal the Cannibal, has some pills. We have a blue, which is Dr. Sunshine. We have some items. Some of these are going to be repeats, like a knife, but we also have a hook bone hammer. We have a patient gown, adrenaline shot, mysterious pill. So it's not an energy drink. So some are going to repeat: first aid kit, trash can lid, you know, common things you're going to find. Then we have a little pill deck for side effects. So it's kind of neat. So it adds a different element of gameplay that's not in the camp one, because you're running around the Asylum and you can get pills. But what's neat about it is you could play Hans the Butcher in the Asylum, or play the Ratchet Nurse with her Maniacs visiting the camp. So that's really cool, because you can mix and match all those guys around. So yeah, you can have, and then there are so many other different tropes in there. So if we just look at this one, which has the base set here, there's a circus with Geppetto. So you get some stuff there. I only got the 2 sets right now, so I can't go over more. We have the Poltergeist, which has, I think, Creek Manor in it. We have Inking Baya, and the Jungle. So we get a jungle there, and then like also in the first set we have Dr. Fright on Maple Grove, which is, so it's like Friday, Nightmare on Elm Street themed. The Poltergeist is obviously like the Poltergeist, a haunted ghost. Yes, we did stuff like that. Then some of the later expansions we have, one that's based off, it's the Organism, which is based off of the Thing movie, up in the Arctic. We have Evomorph, which is a alien, which in space you're playing off the Aliens movies. There's even a Little Red Riding Hood with the Big Bad Wolf. There's a Krampus with Santa Claus's Village. Yeah, there's a Series 3 ends up with like a Terminator themed one. There's a sandworm themed one. So there's a bunch of different stuff in here. It's cool. You can just mix and match everything. Alright, so now we kind of went over the basics of what's all in there. Let's actually look at how the game is sort of played. So yeah, it's gonna, so here's just kind of explaining some of them. It is saying here, so the first time you open up a feature film, you'll find 2 new final girls. We recommend transferring these to the core box with the other final girls since they can use any game. So every new set you buy will get you 2 more final girls. And that's saying throw them in the core box, because then when you want to play, you can pick up any of the final girls that you've acquired with any game, and you don't have to keep opening up like Hans the Butcher set to get the 2 from that set out. You can just open up the core box. Yeah, we're going to have our health tracker here. The horror track in the middle of the board is a horror track, which increases or decreases on how you will move the horror markers. So you'll move your little marker around, and it just determines how many dice you roll during actions. Your time track is where you'll crucial resource, perform actions, and purchase. So yeah, we have some different stuff there. I'm not going to worry about that too much. I kind of explained some of this. Starting stats for your killer, you put your cards up there. They set 5 as a killer's action. The initial action killer performed at the start of every killer phase, which will be explained on their finale card. And then 4, they can gain a dark power. Shows it right there, they can gain some dark powers. As your bloodlust goes up, we have all of our different setup cards for the location board. We kind of looked over some of this. This is what your game will kind of look like at the beginning. You'll have your killer board, your location, your board with all your health icons. Your final girl down here, your starting hand, which will all have the little zeros on them. You saw earlier. We'll look at them a little bit more. And then you put down each other separate card in a tableau. So you always see what's available, stack multiple copies on top of them. So it's not like you're randomly drawing from a deck. You know what is available every turn. And you put your events, your terror cards shuffled together, your item cards separated up there. Then your additional extra meeples over here. So very cool there. When filling up your hearts, so this is an important thing here, you take 9 black final health tokens from the core box and mix them face down. Decide what the dice side should be showing up. Place one in the circle on the killer board and one in the upper left of the player board without looking at them. So I kind of want to look at that, because this is also a really neat final girl type thing. So we have these black hearts here. So you take all these different hearts and then you place them face down, and then when you get your final hit, your final health points taken, you flip that over, and you might end up with a bunch of blank ones, which don't do anything, means you're dead, but you might end up with 1, 2, or 3 extra health. So it's that final adrenaline push. It's that neat idea of like, oh no, we thought the killer was dead. Oh, they rose. But they give the same thing to the final girl. Like, oh, they thought they killed the final girl, but she survived that last hit. Just barely, or maybe she has a little bit of extra. And then you replace it with one of the white ones just to show they literally only have 1 more life, so they can't keep coming back. So that's a really neat concept there, is that everyone gets to keep coming back. Or it has a chance of coming back, but you also don't know. Alright, so then we have our game turns are into 5 phases: action, planning, killer phase, panic phase, and upkeep phase. During the action phase, you play action cards. Most action cards played resolved by making a horror roll, as described on the following page. When playing, discard an action card, make sure to play them in a central discard so it's kept separate from the action tableau. So you don't put them back on that pile, you stick them off to the side in your separate discard, because they'll get added back later. Yeah, so just showing how much it costs to do everything. So once you have them in your hand, though, much like if you play lots of deck building type games, the cost down here is how much it costs to buy the card. But once it's in your hand, it doesn't cost to play them. But rolling dice, on a result of 5 or 6 is a success. On a 3 to 4 is a partial. You may discard 2 action cards from your hand to convert it into a success. So you can use your other cards as resources as well. So it's either 2 stars, 1 star or 1 partial, plus 2 action cards are 1 star, or you get nothing. That's basically how that's going to be determined. And basically, the higher this horror level goes up, the harder it's going to be to hit these act first. Rolling 3 dice, you have a pretty good chance. But when you get down to here, you're going to have to spend if you want to get a success. You might actually be able to get a success if you only have 1 die, because I don't think you can spend 2 action cards, because it converts a dice. And it says if none of the dice are resulted or converted, you have failed. You'll always roll at least 1 dice. If you ever need to roll more than 6 dice, just keep track of them. And then we have icons that'll show on there. So recover a health, lose a health, increase horror, decrease horror damage, gain time, lose time, roll additional dice, and end your action phase. So this could be very bad. Like, it's your first action and then you roll really terrible. Also, now you don't get to take any more regardless of what you have. And I love this part of the instructions because they actually explain, like, based on a card, exactly what you're doing. So showing here, it says Rico is close to death. She chooses short rest. Is that currently at 3, she gets to roll 2 dice while making the horror roll. She got 1 success of 5 and 1 with partial of 4. She could simply take the 1 single success will allow her to recover 1 health and cost her 1 time. However, she really needs to heal more than that. She chooses 2 actions she can live without, discards them, and converts a partial into a full success. And now she gets the 2 health, and she doesn't lose any time of it. So that's even better. So it's definitely sometimes worth that. Movement, if the resolving action allows you to move 1 or more spaces, you can move up to the number of times indicated. For each move, you can only move into adjacent space. They're usually indicated by paths or doors connected by a line. Any unused movement you decide not to use is lost. You may move to and from the killer space without restriction. So I feel like that is a neat thing. Like, you can run into the killer space, and it's not like, oh, now I have to spend extra points to run away from them. But when leaving a space containing 1 or more victims, you may take up to 2 with you. They're scared of death and will happily follow you. However, they will not enter a space with the killer. So if you decide to move there, they will stay there. But if there's already victims there, they will run with you. So saving victims is really helpful. Any point during the action phase, if you're on a green exit space, even will pass you through with any victims, they are saved. And then they get moved to your board. And then you unlock special skills. But you can unlock these in any order. So like, I saved my first victim. Do I need a health? Do I need extra time? Do I need to reduce the horror? Do I need to move? Gives you some cool options. And once you rescue 6 of them, you get to flip your card over and you get an additional special ability. So that's pretty fun as well. So you're just kind of showing that off. She moves through there, grabs that one, moves here, grabs this one since you're on exit space if they both get to leave. And then she heal 1 horror, she gets to move in an additional space, which then she moves to the dock. So you can start her next action trying to find items. So that's pretty cool. But note that victims do not leave by themselves. They have to have someone tell them to leave. Searching for items. So if we're there and we play a search card, get a look at the top. Do whatever it tells you to do for searching. So here it tells you to search for 2 items. You get to take cards from the top of the deck. Says, depending on the result, maybe you draw 1 or more cards, usually keeping 1, returning the other to the deck, either face up or at the bottom and face down. So here, if it's telling you to draw 2 cards, well, just search 2 cards at the dock. She chooses 1 card at the top of the dock, and then she chooses the next one ends up being the energy drink. If she doesn't have a weapon yet, she decides to keep it. She thinks the energy drink doesn't think the energy drink is valuable and places it face down underneath the dock. The next card remains face down. So it's kind of neat. So at the beginning of the game, you see what's in each of the piles. Kind of like, oh, this is an item laying out in plain sight. And then you find something else, but then you can shove them back underneath. Health, you can recover. You can never recover higher than your higher health. And then we have attacking. You attack at the distance away from the killer. So it'll tell you like an axe has 0, but it does 2 damage. But now, like, she does Furious Strike, which she gets 1 success, which does 1 damage, but then she adds her axe in there and does an additional 2 damage. So having weapons helps there, but you can just sometimes punch them. Gaining and losing time. So you might have something that gives you extra time. You might end up losing time. Usually time is just spent on there. It says, if you ever lose time, so the time marker drops below the 0, and into the red, your action phase immediately ends after your current action is resolved. In this instance, after the time marker is dropped below 0, you cannot gain time by any means or raise your time back to the positive. Designers know, we know that actual time is not something that can be gained. Thematically gaining time represents using your time more efficiently or carefully planning complete actions in less time than might be expected. So the time meter isn't like a time travel thing. It's just saying during this action before the killer does something, you have X amount of time to be able to do something. And if you do it cheaper, you learn how to do something a little bit easier. If you fail it, it probably is going to take you more time to do it. Discarding actions to gain cards. At any point before the action phase ends, you may discard as many cards as you wish to exchange for 1 time each. Gaining time can always extend the phase to give you more time to spend during the planning phase. And there's the horror level. If the horror level is either at the end of the track or increase or decreases, you gain a bonus. So basically, if you're all the way at the top here and you get more time, or you decrease the horror even more, you get extra time. But if it gets to the other side, the killer gets more bloodlust, which means they become more deadly. Then ending the action phase. Alright, so this is the you decide to stop, you run out of cards to play, or the action results in a stop action, or the timer goes below 0. Do not be afraid to end the action phase where you still have cards in your hand. Sometimes some cards may be of much greater use in future turns. Then we enter part 2, as we have the planning phase. Once action phase is ended, either it was by choice or not, you enter the planning phase. During this phase, you will spend remaining time to purchase cards. This is the reason why you might not want to spend all your cards to do everything and run out of time. Or you may discard cards to gain extra cards. So at the end, you have a search item for the docks, and you're way across the map, and you're not going to get there anytime soon. You might just discard that for a timing, as opposed to using it for an action. So spend time to purchase action cards from the tableau. If the cost of the card is greater than 0, move the timer marker down 1 space on the track for each time spent. The cost for each action is shown in the bottom right corner. You may not purchase action cards that were played or discarded since the last planning phase. So anything you did during your current turn, you can't repurchase. Purchase cards if paying the cost to move it below 0, or if you already have more than 10 cards in your hand. When you're finished purchasing, reset the time to 6 on the track. Any unspent time is lost. Lastly, place all action cards played or discarded since the last planning phase back into the tableau. So critical, all action cards played or discarded must be kept aside in a central pile till the end of the next planning phase. Most of the time, cards will be played during the action phase, but sometimes it will happen during another phase. Either way, these action cards will be put back in respective piles, and the action tableau is the end of the next planning phase. If you do not keep these cards separate, it could be accidentally repurchased them during the planning phase. You're never allowed to purchase cards that were just played. So here they're kind of just showing that, and I love these little things where they really show how the game works. So step 1 is we were at 4 for our time here. So she purchases, she considers purchasing all of it on Furious Strike, which costs 4, but instead she purchases Search and Sprint, which costs 2 time. Each costs 2 time, so that moves her down to 0. So she purchases Sprint from here and a Search from here, so that's those 2 go there. And then in part 2, she also purchases a Walk and a Focus, because they cost 0, so they have these 0 costs, either the starter cards. She can purchase those for free, so you get those back. And then step 3, after she's done with all her time, She takes all the cards she discards, puts them back in their respective piles. So that way the next planning phase, they're ready to be used again. 0 cost cards can always be bought. Unless you play over the 10 card limit. Then the killer gets to play. The killer does 2 things. They have resolve the killer action is indicated on the finale card. Associated with the K icon, the finale has been revealed. Skip step 2. Otherwise, draw the top terror card and resolve the effect at the bottom. So here's one of our terror cards. It's going to show us what to do there. So the killer's action. So the killer will primarily occur in 2 phases. The front and the back of the finale card and on the terror card. If the killer's action involves the killer choosing a target other than moving or attacking, as explained below, the killer resolves the action from left to right, finishing each step before moving to the next one. So they have targeting, either they'll target the closest victim, closest final girl, or whoever. What is neat though is that if they're supposed to be targeting a specific one of those, they will not go after the other one. So if they're targeting the final girl, they will run by victims, and vice versa. If they're targeting a specific victim, they will run by the final girl. This is kind of interesting. Anytime they have a boot, they move 1 space for whatever number for each boot on there. Whatever their move value is on their cards. So if I grab Hans here, we'll look at his stuff really quickly. Oops. And open it from the correct side would help. Oh, I put the one box on the wrong direction. So if we look at Hans's board here, to start off, he has 1 movement, and when he attacks, he does 2 damage. So that means every time he has a boot icon on one of his cards, he will do that. So here's an example of one of his starting actions. He will target one of the either one of the characters and try to attack. And you get 3 different ones. So each one of his starting ones are all the same. So that doesn't matter. But there could be later on, these might get flipped over. Which then gives him other actions. So he could get targeting, double movement, and a kill, or double movement and 2 kills, or his bloodlust goes up and then he gets 1 kill. So he can get some extra options if his finale cards end up flipping over. And so those kind of line up on the board up here. So like when we place them on his board, they line up with that killer action right there. So that way you can tell what they're doing, and then when they flip over, it's the same idea. They will go like that. You can see what their action is. So that way you know exactly which one you're doing. In attacking, they just do damage. Each attack will target one target, either a victim or a final girl. The killer always attack the victim in their space before the final girl, unless the final girl is specified. So there might be times they're in an area that just says attack, and it might not give them an option. Attacking a victim. Each victim only has 1 health, is automatically killed 1 damage. If the killer's attack kills a victim, move its meeple and place it on the dead space on the player board. When a victim is killed, increase the bloodlust by moving it up 1. Any leftover damage from the attack is lost. For example, if the killer's attack was 3 and they target a victim, the extra 2 damage would be lost. Thematically speaking, they really killed the victim. Critical, always raise the bloodlust when a victim dies, even if they weren't killed by the killer. So if they do something stupid and like run into like a pit or a death machine or something, then they die, the killer still gains bloodlust, because it's kind of like assuming they died because they were trying to get away from the killer. Idea. Attacking the final girl, so then you do the damage equal to the number on there. So in the uncommon event, the killer cannot reach the target and ends up in a space with someone it wasn't targeting, it will still use its attack. So it is targeting. So like this card is targeting a final girl or a victim, either one, but it's going to attack whoever is in that area, regardless. And then the final girl can defend with a reaction card. So these are blue item cards. We'll let you play them. to try and roll some dice to perform some reactions. Note, you cannot use reaction cards to protect victims. You can only use your action to protect yourself. And also, you have to use one for each separate attack. So if he's doing 2 attacks, you'd have to block both of them. So here's again a little example of that. Killer starts his phase. On the back of his finale card, it's a single attack, and unfortunately, he has a victim in his space. The victim is killed, placed on the board. He moves his meeple up. So it goes from there, so now he does 2 to 3 attack, or damage. There's also a horror icon on the special effects, so he gains a horror on there. The next terror card is now drawn. It is a Baggling Horrific Hammer Rush. There are victims still on the board, so the first portion of the card is ignored. Just as if there's not victims on the board, do this, and it goes to the next arrow down. Killer action is resolved, so he's going to target victims. He's going to move to wherever they are. But there are 2 groups, so he moves to the one with the most victims, so he goes down to the fire pit. But note that he has to move through the final girl. He doesn't care because he's targeting victims, so he'll move right down there. He'll attack twice, kill 2 of them. His bloodlust will go up 2 more times. So he doesn't gain any extra. He gains an extra movement stat, but he also gains his dark power. So he reveals his dark power. And then it says, finally, at the bottom of the card, it says, for each victim killed, he adds 2 more horror on there. So that's a really bad turn for the final girl. Then we have the panic phase. After the killer phase, you must check if any victims will panic. Final girl is not panicked during the panic phase. A victim will panic if at least 1 victim was killed this turn, when and where, it does not matter, and if the victim is in the same space as the killer. So anyone dies anywhere, and that guy's in the spot with the horror, they will panic. To resolve, roll a dice for the victim, consulting numbers on the space on the board. Some tarot cards and events, other game effects may cause them to panic. So, yeah, we have 3 people in the area with the killer. He killed someone, so they're all going to try and run. So they roll 3 dice, so for each number they go whichever space on the board it tells them to go. Dice roll for the victims, we check for the fire pit which way they'll go. 2s to 5 go east, while 6s go north. 1 victim will panic to the east. The other one will go north. The 3rd victim has a 1, so there's not that number there. So yes, whichever the number says, so like here's a 2 to 5, means you're going to go that way. The 4 is for guys going the other direction, so it's whichever side you're on. So only a 6 will go up, so if there's a 1, they don't go anywhere. And like up at this top one, we have a 6, a 5, and then we have a 1 through 4. So this one, everyone will get a move no matter what. Just kind of depends on what they are. During the upkeep time, most of the time it won't be too much. You do a finale check. There are no tarot cards left in the tarot deck. Reveal the finale card. Perform any required upkeep steps indicated by events or other cards. As you wish, you may rearrange any items from your backpack to your hands. Revealing the finale. When there are no tarot cards left in the tarot deck, the finale card will be revealed during the upkeep phase. Flip the card face up and place on the same spot. Some finale cards have immediate effects. A new killer finale action will show up in the upper left-hand corner. Replacing the initial killer action was on the back of the card. This new action one will occur during the killer phase. So this is where, so we start off, he has very simple abilities, but then when he flips over, he gets one of his 3 different abilities, and he becomes much more powerful. And then this is the new actions he does. But you have to wait till the terror deck runs out for that to happen. And then we also have the other finale card. Or, not finale. These are dark power cards. I'm dropping everything off the table. So on the bottom, we also have his dark power cards, which we get, which are just like this, but then they have special abilities that will flip over as we go through. Yeah, so the end of the game is either you kill the killer or he kills you. That's the way it ends. All the other victims can end up dying. That doesn't mean anything. You just have to win. Then we have item cards. So just briefly on these. It's going to show the name of it, little text, range, damage, how many hands it takes. You can only have up to 2 hands worth of items at a time. If it has a limited requirement or use, ability, and then what set it goes to. So at the end of the game, you can pull some out, because there might be some that are associated with the killer. Most of them are probably associated with the location. These are just showing holding items. First aid kit and pepper spray each use 1 hand. So you can have both of them, or you can have the axe. You can't have one of each, because there's too many hands. Then like the pills and the lucky dice don't use anything. One-time items using trackers for limited stuff. Very explanatory there. Your various items. So yeah, she's using this. You're using Furious Strike. You can either use the old revolver or the knife, depending on which range you're at. 0 range or 1 range. So yeah, you can either that. But the old revolver also has a restriction to only be modified the weak action attack. File health tokens, I already explained those. Says either the file girl or the killer has only their file health token remaining. They may roll 1 additional dice for all your horror rolls. So that's pretty cool. But it says if additional health is recovered such that they have more than 1 file health, the benefit is lost. Bloodlust, killer getting stronger as victims perish. Just keep track of that. It says sometimes it can happen when a chain of effects will cause bloodlust to increase multiple times even as other effects are waiting to resolve. Each effect on the bloodlust track must be resolved in these instances. Once the impact of the bloodlust increase and resolve, finish resolving any other game effects as usual. So like as they go up, so if you play a card that says gain 1 bloodlust and it increases the killer's movement, now he gains extra movement right away. Or if it increases his damage, he immediately gains that damage. Dark powers, epic dark powers, and minor dark powers. Dark powers are cards that feature unique abilities the killer will use during if the card is revealed. There is space on the killer's board. Bloodlust track that indicates when their dark powers must be revealed. The bloodlust marker reaches that space, reveal the dark power immediately. In addition to regulars, most killers have epic dark powers denoted by bloody border. Particular nasty abilities should only be included when you want an epic challenge. And then some terror cards are minor dark powers, which give them extra little abilities. Yeah, so those are going to kind of go on here. So you get, if you unlock these through the terrors, you get extra little powers. If you unlock your dark power here and it has it linked down to here, that's when you flip one of those over. Which, again, really cool kind of the finale cards. We have 3 of them. So you might not know what you're going to have to play against each time. And then you have 1 ultimate if you want to try for the extra hard version or the epic version. Then we have victim overflow and board tokens. The game comes with 3 victim overflow. So if a space becomes too crowded with victims and other pieces, you may use an overflow. Put matching icon on there. So put the diamond on like one of the camp spaces, the fireplace, for example, or campfire, and then any tokens you can put on there, so you don't have to try and cram everything into one little tiny spot. Events. An event card is revealed at the start of the game, and more events may be revealed during the course of the game when played, indicated by the event icon. Really, next event applies the effect. Some event cards have permanent, ongoing effects, while others have one-time effects and only discard after the effect has been applied. Drawing a new event does not cancel or replace the effect of the previous one. Sometimes the effects of an event can't be applied because there are no victims on the board or similar. If this occurs, the event is simply ignored. Yes, like this one's just saying if you have a boyfriend, the victim close to you is not your boyfriend. If this boyfriend dies in your space, start the next action phase with 12 time. The boyfriend leaves play, discard this card. Yeah, so very interesting. There's special victims just showing. Some have extra ones, you replace them with one of the other ones. They say blue, although it's kind of purple. Unless the card specifies otherwise, special victims are treated exactly like normal victims for all gameplay purposes. They'll follow you for the 2 victory once you save them. All that stuff happens too. Tokens, just cards might tell you to put tokens down. Pretty easy. Discarding, drawing, playing, removing. Very, very interesting. Just basic gameplay stuff. Game ambiguity. It's a system is a massive scope with card interactions and combinations that might well be considered infinite in number, such as it can happen from time to time that something may not be covered in the rules. There's a timing question, a strange card interaction, a tie that cannot be adequately resolved, or something else that causes uncertainty when playing. In these cases, apply one of the following rules. Rules of infinite evil. Resolve in such a way that results are the worst outcome for you. Rule of abject realism. Resolve in a way that results in the most realistic or thematic outcome. Or rule of never-ending hilarity. Resolve in a way that results in the funniest outcome. Remember choosing one of these rules before you play it and resolve all of them in that manner. So that's kind of neat. So it's kind of just telling you, like, if something's not making sense, don't be like, oh, I gotta go find the rules lawyer and see exactly how to play this. Just determine it the best as you can on your own. Then we have enemies, killers, and minions. So enemies and enemy cards are cards that suspect enemies apply to both killers and minions, but killers stuff only revolves to the killers and minions only expect for the minions. Some features use minions which are lesser but still terrifying monsters that are trying to kill you. Minions can be present with or without a main killer depending on the scenario. For example, Carnage at the Carnival includes both the killer Geppetto and minions, the puppets, but Terror from Above Vintage expansion only has the minions, which are birds and no killers. Each minion comes with its own reference card to show what their health, attack, and movement values are. Minions often spawn at the beginning of the game and will be indicated by rules specified for the minions. Number of minions more is always limited to the number of minion tokens that are included. And aren't any more, you can't summon them. Attacking a minion works the same as attacking a killer. Choose your attack a minion that are more than one of them in the same space. You are attacking all of them. You may divide damage amongst minions. Entire space as you wish. Any leftover damage is lost. But you cannot divide damage amongst minions and killers. So if there's like 3 maniacs from the eyes of them, you can take out and you roll 2 damage. You can do damage to each one of them. But you can't then turn it to the killer. Additionally, involved in the action on the back of another card, there'll also be a minion action we saw with the Ratchet lady. In some instances, there'll only be a minion action because a killer and a minion resolve them from top to bottom. When resolving terror cards, unless otherwise stated, all enemies will perform any killer actions one at a time. Minions should always act first, followed by the killer. In the panic phase, if there's a minion, they will panic as it would the killer. Cool. So that is the basic on the back here. Just reminds us action, planning phase, killer phase, panic, and upkeep. So panic might not happen all the time. Upkeep might not happen all the time. And then the action phase and the killer phase are the 2 big ones. So that is what we have for this game. I do want to look at the action cards in the base set, and then we'll call this a video. Alright, so for our action cards, we have 2 copies of Walk. So you'll have 0 cost purchase of a little gold timer. These are always your starting cards. So on 2 successes, you get to move up to 2 spaces. 1 is 1 space. None, you still get to move 1, but it costs you a health and a timer, or you can just lose 2 time. So I'm not sure why you would ever. So the option there is if you don't get a success, you can either still try and move, but you hurt yourself. So it might be like, oh, I twisted my ankle or something walking, or you can just lose 2 times, being like, I didn't go anywhere. I just stood around in a daze. 1 foot in front of the other, nice and slow. There is a bloodthirsty killer after me, but has no reason to panic, right? We get a copy of Short Rest, which can either get you 2 health, 1 health plus a little bit of time, or 1 health, but the horror goes up, the time goes down, and you stop your action. So, like again, trying to think of this thematically, it's like, probably like, oh, I got somewhere I could I got far enough away I could rest easily and no panicking. The one success is probably like I got somewhere I could pause for a sec, but like I don't really feel safe. And the other one's like I stopped in the middle of the road. The killer can probably still see me, but I did stop. I'm out of breath and these wounds hurt like hell. I gotta take a break, even if it. Wait, what am I saying? Okay, that's long enough. We got 2 copies of Focus, which will let you reduce the horror and get your time up. You're recomposing yourself. Reduces the horror, but you lose some time. You're getting there, or you can just lose time. Now, some of these, again, they don't have the extra option. Okay, think. I know what I have to do. It's scary, but I have to go over there and focus on my next move. And our last starter card is our weak attack, which does either 1 damage, but you hurt yourself, or you just hurt yourself. This is never gonna work. So these are our starting cards. Our other cards we can start purchasing. So we have 2 copies of Close Call. Play after any horror to roll. Reroll any 1 die, or reroll all die for -2. Ooh, that was close. Good thing I averted disaster. Or did I? Yes, that might be helpful if there's a horror that involves the killer rolling die for something. So that could be very helpful. We have 2 copies of Guard. So on a double success, you ignore all damage. If you get 1, you at least reduce it by 2. And if you get none, you reduce it by 1 to a minimum 1. So either way, you can at least reduce something. Oh hell, it's going to attack, dodge, deflect, or whatever I have to do to stay alive. We have 2 copies of Search. Take the top 2 item cards at your space and choose 1. Place the other top face up or face underneath. So this is kind of again, like, you come over the pile, you're in the docks, for example, and you're looking for stuff. If there's already an item card there, oh, that was laying face up on the table, and you search for another one in, like, a drawer. I found something else. Then when you're putting them back, it's thematically almost saying, like, oh, I decided I didn't want the energy drink, right? So you decide to either, A, put it back on top of on the desk, so now next time you go in there, you know it's right there. Or you could be like, I threw it away. Like, I didn't need that. I tossed it somewhere. I don't know where it landed, so I'm not going to be able to find it next time I come in, because now it's at the bottom of your deck. Then the next one sets you up for just take the top item card of your space. And again, you can prep yourself for later turns by, or even the same turn, you can prep yourself for the next search by putting the item back on top, knowing that that's what you're going to look for. Or you can take the top card of your space, but your horror goes up to, and you've made too much time. So it's kind of like you spent too much, you made a lot of noise doing it. Or if you you don't want that horror to go up as much, you can go up 1, but you still lose your time. There's gotta be something useful in here, a weapon or something to help me survive. Why is this happening to me? We got 2 copies of Sprint. You can up to 3 spaces, 2 spaces, or 1 space, but you hurt yourself, you lose some time, and you stop your turn. Which might be better to not lose your action and just take that health and that time. Run. Where? Anywhere. We have 2 copies of Improvise. For double success. Until this action phase ends, all 3s and 4s are successful. Ooh, so that'd be really helpful if you're trying to, like, roll for maybe searching item. Or it could be doing an attack. Very, very good card to, like, just help boost up whatever you have to do. For the next roll only, all 3s and 4s are successful. Again, not bad in a pinch, but if you miss, you get horror and lose some time. It's time to improvise. Go off script, they'll never see it coming. And then we have 2 copies of Distraction. To reduce horror by 2 and gain 2 time, or reduce it by 1, gain 1 time. Or negative, which is really bad. Reduce it by 1 but lose 4 time, or gain 1 and reduce 2. I need some sort of distraction to buy myself some time. So it's either you get a really good distraction, killer goes away the other direction kind of thing, or they do a little bit, or if you fail, maybe it's distracting enough, but the time it took to set it up didn't really work, or you really failed it and they actually spotted you and now they're going to grab you. So the rest of the cards we only have 1 copy of each. They're a little bit stronger cards, and so they cost 4 times each, so you're not going to be able to purchase them as often. But we have planning. Get 3 dice for the next horror roll. For 1, you get 2, but you lose a time. For the last one, you get 1, but horror goes up and you lose 2 time. I need a plan. Think. Wait, if I just, and finally, yes, that could work. It has to work. We have Furious Strike, which gets you 2 damage, and then you reduce a horror. 1 damage, reduce a horror, but your turn ends. Or take damage, horror goes up, and basically it failed. Bitch, who you calling bitch? You want a bitch? I'll show you a bitch. That's very horror movie-esque. We get another guard or reaction card. We have Retaliate. Ignore all damage from attacks, then do 2 damage, reduce it by 2, and then do a damage or nothing happens. I'm not scared anymore. Next time it attacks, I'll be ready. I'm going to kill that godforsaken thing. We have Long Rest. Gets you 4 health back, but you reduce your timer. 2, or you reduce 2 timer. 2, but horror goes up. Reduce your timer by 2, and stop your turn. Am I safe? I need to stop and recover. I need to stop the bleeding. I won't have any energy left to finish this. And then the final one is this costs up to 6 points, which is basically your entire turn unless you had some boost. If we did see that one boyfriend card, which if they died, all of a sudden you had 12, this could definitely help you purchase that. Or if you just didn't spend a lot of action on your turn, you might be able to afford this. So critical blow does 3 damage, reduces horror. 2 damage reduces horror but ends your turn. Or 2 damage but you take 2 damage. Gain a horror and stop your turn. If I could land this could be a killing blow if I don't screw up. Yes, that's really cool. So those are our basic cards. We did see with like the Magni set with the Ratchet Lady. She did have extra action cards we got available with us, so each set might have some other new cards. Just depending on which one you might get. You might get some new action that are specific to the killer, or maybe specific to the area. Which is a really fun idea the way this works. Alright, so the last thing I did want to show off, because on the back these are all actions, so you're probably going to want to have these in a clear sleeve, but I just have a black sleeve here for the moment, is I just want to show that sleeved cards do fit in the box, which is a really nice idea. So I fit this in there very easily, and now even with these extra, I'm going to move my camera up here a little bit, even with these extra ideas, so I just put all the rest of your killers in there. So, but again, there's 2 for every set. There's about 30, plus if there's promos, so this might start filling up. But if you've gotten everything, there are extra boxes you can get for the Final Girl stuff as well. But yeah, you have options to drop some of your other meeples in some of these other areas. So like if you want your time one in there, or you could put your extra little tokens in this, and then you'd be able to grab them out very easily. Some different options there. You could drop your big meeples in there so you can get your hearts easier. These guys might actually be able to just stand up in here if you want to stand up all your meeples in there. So there's a bunch of different options on how you want to set this up. There's no correct way. So you can put your other guys over here. Yeah, they kind of just made like, so some of these spots might not have a thing for every single one. Like I don't think the hearts will fit in here. I mean, they kind of will, but they're not going to be as easy to grab out. But yeah, you can put your characters in here. It might be easier to grab Final Girls out that way, because you can pick them up by the heads, or victims, I mean. Put your big characters in there, your little tokens in here, where this is kind of like a easy to grab thing. Yeah, we have a bunch of different options on how you put everything in your box. Much of the same like the killer ones. There's going to be spaces in each one of them. Killers in the thing that might not utilize them. Like Hans comes with a couple. It doesn't come with anything extra in his. but the champ side one comes in tokens, where the Ratchet item come with extra meeples and extra characters, so they're going to do extra different stuff as well. Cool. So that's what we have for Final Girl. This is a very long video of me explaining how this all works. But hope you guys enjoy it. Come back, check out the first 2 expansions I'll go over, and then hopefully I'll pick up more and we'll go through all the other stuff as well. See you guys later. Bye.